Welcome, everyone. I'm Mariquita Solis, the live stream host of all-creatures.org. All-creatures.org was founded in 1998 and is a leading resource for faith-based animal rights veganism. Led by our executive director, Tams Nicholson, we provide free resources for people seeking to live compassionately towards all creatures. Our extensive library includes vegan sermons and commentaries, animal rights strategies, action alerts, events, and works by various vegan authors. We also sponsor websites for animal rights organizations. Our mission is to unite compassionate individuals worldwide who honor the dignity of all creatures. Today, we are excited to welcome my good friend Angela Fischetti. Angela is an on site and virtual physical fitness yoga instructor and licensed massage therapist, specializing in wellness for older adults. She began teaching seniors when she was 30. It was also when she embarked on her own tough healing journey. Over 3 decades later, a senior herself, Angela combines years of experience and research with a unique combination of empathy and encouragement for older adults seeking a healthier lifestyle. She researches the latest findings in senior fitness and consults with each client's medical practitioners for tailored workouts. As a licensed massage therapist, Angela also works with geriatric patients with memory and other delicate disorders who benefit from gentle touch and movement in palliative care. Angela is proud of her services to the vegan and whole foods plant based platforms to which she provides strength training and yoga videos. They are tailored to those with chronic concerns, thus making these movement modalities accessible to all. Based in the Fort Lauderdale area, Angela has served South Florida clients for over 20 years. Brooklyn born with a background in Shakespearean theater and a lifelong passion for song, Angela is also a devoted companion to felines. And I know one of the favorite felines in my life is tea, and that is Angela's cat. So, welcome, Angela.
Thank you so much, Mariquita. It's wonderful to be here with you again. I always love meeting with you and getting together and just, communicating and sharing with you and with your wonderful audience.
Well, this is nice because we're on all-creatures.org. And when I was asked to be their live stream representative, I was super excited because what a beautiful organization they are. And I love Tams Nicholson, their executive director. I visited her in Athens when she lived here. She is just a precious soul. So this is wonderful that we are honored to have you as our guest today.
Oh, thank you. It's very, I was looking at various videos, checking out the platform of the YouTube channel for allcreatures.org. And it's purposeful and it's compassionate. And I love when those two meet each other.
Yes, I love it too. Well, y'all, okay, please bear with me in case you hear a lot of drilling or who knows what in the background. We're having some technical issues over here, and well, that's life, right? So, um, so Angela, let's get started. Will you tell us about when did you learn about this different lifestyle, veganism or plant based, or like this whole change? When did that start?
Well, it was a progression because as time goes on, I learn more and more. It's not like I learned everything at once because, frankly, all of this information did not exist and was not accessible because I made a transition, so to speak, to vegetarian back in 1987. And that's after I read the book Diet for a New America by John Robbins. And really, at that time, my precious feline was Honey Bunny. And I just remember walking out of my room when I was at the end of that book, and I took a look at her, and I was like, oh, no way. Mm-mm. I can't. And that had to do with meat, right? Any animal flesh. So that was a huge, huge shift for me. And then it took me probably 3 to 4 years to go vegan. And to understand that this was 90, 91, and I was living in a very it was considered a very cool area of Brooklyn at the time. It's considered very cool today, and I was living in Park Slope. So this meant that I was living in a slightly edgy area, that I had accessibility quite easily to Manhattan, and especially the Lower East Side, which was edgier. And they were quite hip at the time with raw veganism. So I went from, if memory serves correctly, because I don't like harp on this stuff, because this whole process is quite natural to me. I don't even think about it. And that's what I hope happens to people, is they just start to live and do it, without thought. It just becomes second nature. But it just was, I literally went from vegetarian to raw vegan. And what got me in that direction of raw vegan was a PBS. Was it PBS? I think so. I think it was a PBS offshoot, and there was like a cable television show, and it was called Accent on Wellness, and it was all about raw vegan. And I'm telling you, it was early 90s, so ahead of its time. And the host was a personal trainer, male. And so I was like, who and what is this? Right? So I watched every week. I would watch over and over and over. And then I began to go into Manhattan to attend their live meetings and their meetups. And his name was Matthew Grace. And I do want to plug him. He was just magnificent at this. And this is a man who reversed multiple sclerosis through raw veganism back then. Now, people often ask me and say, "But what were your references? What could, because there was no barely into the internet, let's put it that way." Well, it was the Lower East Side. There were a lot of hip bookstores that actually focused on these topics. So I was buying everything I possibly could by Herbert Shelton and Norman Walker, all these people from the natural hygiene movement. And so that's how this came to be. I didn't remain 100% raw vegan, but it was a tremendous influence in my life until this day, where I am high raw, because it's just very, very natural to me. And I have some cooked food. But that's how this whole thing began. It began with a cat, and then it moved into what made sense to me from a fitness perspective, because it was introduced to me by a colleague in the profession, and it made total sense. And but living this and eating this way in my profession at that time, and being a female personal trainer at that time, was unheard of, and eating this way was mocked. I mean, it was not people inquisitive. People were mean. They were just mean and say things to me that were a little cruel. So I used to go off and escape in one of the squash courts in the gym where I used to work in Brooklyn Heights, and just eat so I could eat in peace. Maybe I wanted to sit on the floor in the squash court, relax in between clients, and eat some grapes. It wasn't something I had to speak about and be accountable for. It just all made sense to me. That part of it has never changed. It makes sense. And what we know now about eating this way, as it pertains to the animals and to our health, is extraordinary. And I know that I absolutely personify this in my life, because I've had my own health issues, really nasty health issues, that I've overcome, reversed, prevented, halted, whatever words you want to use. It works for me. And certainly the whole dedication with animals, that's that's just a part of my blood because that began as a baby, as a child with animals in the house. So that's that was the number one driving factor. But when I got presented with illnesses and stuff, yeah, that scared me. And I was like, yeah, we're going to really fine tune this stuff. And it all works. And it's just very interesting how we talk about this food style, as Victoria Moran would call it, a food style, um, it's all founded in ahimsa. It's nonviolence to the animals, nonviolence to ourselves. I know what it's like to eat vegan junk food and to suffer the consequences of it. It's not smart. I get we want to spare the animals, but then we're also harming our planet when we don't take care of ourselves. Um, what was it that I was thinking earlier? I was working out earlier and I was like, self care is a form of, it was a word that rhymed. I don't know. If I could think about it during the broadcast, I'll probably blurt it out. But I hope this makes sense to the audience because it's not, we live in a world, particularly the medical field, where everything is very reductionist. Specialists. Nobody's piecing the body together as a whole, right? When you live this lifestyle and eat this way, it's all about the whole, WHOLE, the whole, all of it. And, so you asked me, and that's how this whole thing began. And it is interesting to reflect upon it a bit with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I have to get situated on the floor here.
I can come on the floor too. I can bring the desk down and come down to the floor with you. I'm happy to do it.
You never know. Anyway, it's all good. So, well, that's very interesting that people were very mean to you. I mean,
Oof.
I can't even, but I mean, wow.
Right. Actually, when it came to being a female trainer, they were threatening to me. Male trainers, some male trainers. Other male trainers took me under their wing because they saw, oh, you love the metal being, the dumbbells and the barbells and all of that. And they were like, we'll teach you because they saw I wasn't going away. Yeah, they were all bodybuilders.
Nice. Well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. And how have you seen that? I mean, that change throughout the years.
It was a little by little thing. Um, Baby steps at a time. And some of those baby steps were a little edgy. They weren't mean. But it was a little bit like, oh, it's going to pass, right? This isn't real. It's going to pass, and people didn't want to hear about it. Um, Oftentimes, I found that people would, if they just asked me why I eat the way I eat, and I answered, that's when they would get all in a huff and puff. It's not for me, all right? I'm not judging you. I don't sit across if I'm gonna break bread with you or whatever it is I'm gonna eat with I'm not gonna eat the bread, but whatever. Um, I'm not gonna sit across the table and berate you for your food choices because then we lose the human side. We lose a form of humanity and compassion for each other. And those are I learned from you. I learned from Angela Crawford, Dr. Angela Crawford, that these are the moments that we can actually communicate on the subject, right? And share with each other and inform each other as opposed to knock the other person down. Don't That's one thing that if anybody asks me today and then I can see that they're getting judgmental, I will put them in their place immediately. That I will not tolerate because we've come too far. So I've gone from people being mean, people being a little like, superior about it, to people genuinely asking and questioning why, right? To people thinking I'm really cool and hip at this point in my life, that this is how I eat. Because when I go shopping, my biggest shop is over at the Walmart Supercenter in my town, which is very few people who live this whole lifestyle and follow this. And the one thing about living where I live is two things: that because it's an island community, it's people from the islands. They love plant food, right? The veggies. Maybe sometimes what they do with them isn't so healthy, but they love the veggies. But the other thing that I've noticed from people from the islands, I'm just like, wow, what a reference point they have, because I hadn't encountered this before until I moved here in January 2024 in Lauderdale Lakes, Florida, which, by the way, I learned is the We Care city. So I'm like, I'm living in the right town, let me tell you. The one thing that everybody says to me when they see my cart and what's in it: "You don't hurt animals." That's what they say. That's how they approach me. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. But, to be that aware and to have been brought up like that, because the way that when somebody comes at you from that perspective, that's really historical within them. So that's something that's coming back, let's say, from the islands that they were raised with, and understand somebody like me. And I'm telling you, Mariquita, the biggest smile comes over their faces when they look at my cart. The other thing that happens here a lot, it's hilarious. I wind up teaching people how to pick the proper cantaloupes, watermelons, and pineapple. And people come up to me and they're like, especially the gentlemen, right? The men, and they'll always call me mama because I'm older than everybody, right? So they come over to me and they say, "Mama, you you seem to know what you're doing. Could you teach me how to pick a good pineapple?" No problem. I have a blast with this stuff with them. The other day, just my last shop, there was a gentleman with his two young children, and he's picking out a watermelon and he put it in his cart, and I'm like, "Mm-mm, he picked the wrong one." I thought, it's really huge, but the color wasn't right, and I'm like, that's going to be all rind. So I just said to him, "Excuse me, that watermelon, I know it's big and heavy, but there's not a lot of watermelon in that. You're buying rind." He's like, "Can you help me?" I said, "Oh, yeah, that one right there is the one you want to pick," because I wanted to make sure I had it chosen for him. And it was fantastic. Put it in the cart, and then I hear him talking to the little kids. That lady was really nice to teach us this, but it's helpful stuff, because if people are going to eat it, I want them to enjoy it, and maybe they're going to want to eat more of the plant food versus going on to animal products. It's just that much less. And it was a moment in time to communicate with younger generations, actually several generations there. And that's just wonderful, because that the little piece you can pass on, they're going to always remember how to pick a watermelon from the crazy lady who stopped them.
Well, tell us how to pick a watermelon. Don't leave us hanging.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this is me. Other people might have their technique. Yeah, I do knock on it. All right. I want to hear a deep thud, but I'm also going to look for really deep green, not this light, almost lime green color. Forget that watermelon. You want the deep green. First of all, that one's a hybrid. So that's a whole nother conversation of seedless watermelons. I want my watermelons to have those black seeds. the real deal. All right. And so they're always dark green and then a nice, really nice size, absolutely full yellow patch on the bottom where they've been resting. That's your watermelon. And when you go to pick it up, it should be heavy, but not heavy from rind. So the lighter color is going to be heavy from rind. The dark color, plenty of watermelon meat and beautiful water from the watermelon. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be sweet.
That sounds wonderful. Does your cat, eat watermelon?
No, he doesn't. Um, I used to have a cat, Samson, who, oh my gosh, I loved him so much. He was ginormous, that cat. One time I had him out in the hallway just walking, and this was like, I don't know, well over a decade ago. And the neighbor came walking down the hall and he stopped and he goes, "What is that?" Because he looked like a Bengal. I mean, he was ginormous. And I'm like, "Don't worry about it." I said, he's feral. I mean, he's not feral. He's just a tomcat type thing. And he's absolutely the kindest cat you'll ever meet. He said, "You sure?" I said, "I'm positive, you know." So anyhow, Samson would love if, because you have to be careful with cats with watermelon. I don't know if it was the seeds, I can't remember, but what I used to do is put down the rind of watermelons, cantaloupes, and honeydews, and he would just lick it all up. And as Samson loved, if I had a tomato, he would just be waiting. And I would
Oh,
just, oh, he would just give me that thing. And I would just drop it to the floor. He would eat that. Tea likes it when I will like get baby spinach and really chop it up small pieces and put it in his food. He will lap that up. And if I have every now and then, because down here in South Florida, when you buy the greens for cats, and they're typically wheatgrass, they're filled with ants and stuff. So I have to be careful. Oh, I'll give you a tip about that, folks. When you feed the wheatgrass to the cats, you want that stuff almost dying. You don't want it fresh because the enzymes are in full flourish when it's starting to go. So they don't look great. That's when you buy it because that cat will eat that stuff up, and that's when I buy it because then there's also less, little bugs and stuff. And T loves it. One there are times I'll put the whole little planter on the floor, and he wraps his mouth around it, and he's got it hanging out the mouth, and he walks off with the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm like, be like that, you know. But he loves it, so he does. He likes a little bit of plant food. He is, I do follow the carnivorous diet with him, because it's just very, very challenging the other way. But for cats, though, for dogs, if I had a dog, I would definitely have that dog vegan. There's no question. I would be serving the dog, Linda
oh yeah.
Middleworth. Yeah, no question about it. But yeah, T does like that baby spinach, and he was feral. So I knew that bringing in a feral cat, I have to feed him greens because he's out there eating and munching on grass. He's getting his chlorophyll and he's, cleaning out the cat hair that way. So that's what I do here too.
Well, that's very interesting. Oh, yes, and yeah, the dog, the cat, the dog, the dog, the cat. Is that right?
The dog is Linda
The dog.
Middlesworth's. Yeah, that's her company.
Right. I didn't know if there was a the cat. Yes. Well, see,
I don't know.
Louis.
There might be. There might be.
Yeah. I make food for Louis. He loves chickpeas. He loves little
Little
carrots.
Louie. I love little Louie.
He's sleeping, but he loves apples. I can hear him chewing his little apples. It's so cute. So yeah, and anyway,
Oh,
he loves
the other
watermelon.
thing, the other thing T likes to come like over my shoulder, and he'll start licking it is a pear.
Oh,
Not an apple, but the pear
mm,
inside the flesh, and I'll make sure I'm like, "Wait a minute, let me get the skin off. I'll eat that. Here you go." And he goes right for the flesh.
that's cute. Oh my gosh, tea for terrific.
T for terrific. Absolutely. You know, his original name by former people who were caring for him down the line, because he's had several people caring for him. And the first people who are caring for him called him Trouble. And I just was like, it was almost like I wanted to sage him from that name. And so I just said, no, no, T for terrific.
Yeah, for
Change
sure.
the perspective. Change the perspective, right?
I love it. Yes, and JJ's here, and
Hi, JJ.
she said, well, my mom got her a
A
chia
chia
cat.
cat. For the cat, or for her, or for the
Yeah,
cats.
she likes my hat.
Yeah, yeah, I love that hat.
That's a good question, right? Yeah, yeah. Well, JJ's got Neil and Menu are her cats,
Oh,
and
that's right,
they're
right.
usually always, yeah, they're always prancing around and
I
impatient.
know,
Okay,
I
I
know.
gotta.
They're usually right there with her. That's so sweet. Or sitting on the chair directly behind her, or sometimes under her.
Yeah, they're funny. All right, y'all. Let me bend my neck a little bit. Ugh. Ugh.
Easy
All right.
does. Ugh, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry you're so uncomfortable there.
that's all good. I usually, well, there's a lot of places here, but I'm hiding from the noise, and the noise I think has stopped. But anyway, I'm still here, so all good. But I'm glad that everything is that we got a good signal, right? And you're looking good, and T's
Thank
waiting
you.
maybe for a surprise visit at the end. T's waiting to surprise us.
Yes.
So tell us about. I mean, so a lot of people when they get older think that's it. There's nothing I can do.
Ugh.
Now, do you meet a lot of people like that, maybe on the streets or that might see you and compliment you? And how does that go?
Well, I think that that's an all pervasive attitude that, it eats me up, but it's also what drives me, and it drives my work, and it drives my approach. And I don't let their attitude, people in general, the public attitude toward aging, particularly in this country, is really shameful, right? But there is a definite change happening. And the reason why I can say this to you is because, and this is amazing when I look back on this, when I turned 55 years old, I lost every gig in every facility, whether it had been a gym or a senior center or a senior residence. I lost them all. And they rehired people half my age and probably half my rate. Okay.
Mm,
And that went on this whole time. Very people assuming that if they hire me as a licensed massage therapist, that, oh, well, how old are you? You can't possibly be strong enough to give me a deep tissue. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Now I'm 67 and I am getting hired from the senior facilities because you see, the people doing the hiring now are much younger than me. And so they appreciate and can see that I walk the talk. There's no question. And I do not condescend because all that junk out there, the way people are talking and chatting about aging, all that, ooh, be fragile, ooh, sit down, I'll do it for you. Get out of here. I'm going to get up and do it myself, provided the person can, right? Um, so
right.
all of that is extremely condescending and demeaning. But now I have Gen Zs and millennials hiring me because of, oh, you don't teach the way that a lot of teachers teach in these senior facilities. I'm talking about mostly senior residents. These are different, like different levels of care of homes. All right. most of what you will see in these facilities will be instructors doing safe movements. And that's important that it be safe. We're dealing with a very fragile demographic. However, there's a distinct difference between doing something safely and effectively. So I see a lot of superfluous movement, especially when a lot of the facilities, it has to be in a chair due to insurance reasons. And it makes sense. You don't want, you want to be able to do the best you can, but you can't be dealing with getting sued all the time either. You just can't, because you can't in today's society survive as a business when really there's a lot of good intention involved there, right? Um, so I just approach the people that I go to now, and I knew before I set out on job searching, all right, I knew that the hiring people were going to be way younger than me because most people my age are retired. I'm not
Right.
interested in that. I think that I have a cause, I have a purpose, and I am my demographic, and I even more so, I want to reach out to them. And when people are living in these residential type homes, facilities, institutions, whatever you want to call them, because there's many varying degrees and versions, right? Um, they want hope, and they want some and need some sense of control over their body. The other way of treating everybody like they're just going to fall apart by doing nothing is just, it's absolutely destroying the aging process. So I come at this from the perspective of I'm going to teach safely, but I'm going to teach effectively. And in each class, I'm going to include the modifications for 20 to 30 different chronic health conditions. I refer to my YouTube channel, Boomerang Beyond Wellness, as the Chronic Concerns Corner. It's a small platform. It doesn't attract a lot of people, but it attracts people who need it. The people with the chronic health conditions who do want to safely and effectively work out. And that's the message now that these senior facilities both need and want to hear. So I obtained 4 jobs, 4 different positions that there were no online listings for. I walked in and pitched how I teach and what I teach and came out with jobs that didn't exist before. And in this last one, I'm very excited about because this facility, it's located in Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to mention it's because they are really ahead of what's going on out there in senior facilities. It's called the Meridian at Waterways in Fort Lauderdale, and it's overlooking the ocean. It's really spectacular. But the thing is they heard me because their activities person is in charge of a lot of different components, but he's also from the fitness field. And man, he heard me loud and clear. And he opened up the cabinets inside the activities room and he said, use what you want. And the last cabinet that got opened, they're all weights. They're all light weights that they haven't been used in I don't know how long. And I'm like, now we're talking because my whole concept is if you have to be in a chair, let's not be all bougie and judgy about sitting in a chair. Sitting is the new smoking. I get it. I understand it. But it definitely looks down on people who are in that chair 24/7 because of health. They cannot help it. And for people like you and JJ who have to be sitting at a desk for a lot of hours, let's turn that chair into a tool for health. So they absolutely said, we want you to use whatever you want. And this is going to be the first facility in the area that is actually teaching weightlifting for seniors in a chair. And I'm super excited. We're calling it Revolutionary Strength. And they're going to be in a chair, and they're going to be working with weights and all kinds of stuff. And we're very excited. I was just there yesterday. I attended what they call a happy hour, and there was a musician there singing, and I just met with all of them and then made a big announcement on how my vision for them is, because I want them to be able to feel more confident walking around with a cane, to feel more confident about using a walker, and having proper form, getting up and getting down out of a chair. And I'm not kidding you. It's a problem for some people. They get stuck on the commode. It's no joke. People hurt, they fall and get hurt and all of that stuff in the bathroom. I need to include all of this in the work. And this facility is so open to the whole thing. And they created the class. They said, "Well, we got to remove something." I said, "I know what you can remove from your calendar, because I knew this was going to come up, because they have a lot of stuff in this facility for activity for seniors." There was something there of sorry to do this to a fellow YouTube person, but I said, "Look, you can either have them sit in a chair with that guy who's not going to be here in the room with him and help them with their form and stuff, or you could do it with me. And I'm going to come here." And that's why I go to the facilities before I start teaching. I attend a function so I can meet the students, but also watch them as they move and see what it is that how I have to design the classes for that facility's demographic. Because with seniors, what happens is people clump everybody together in one lump sum, and they teach the same class in every facility they go to. I don't do that. I change the class, the design of the class for who's in that facility, because it's their home. I'm a guest in their home, and I need to respect that. And they were super excited. They were super excited. And I'm just so happy that 12 years later, after all of that happened, right? That now we have people, the younger generations have a vision. And my vision aligns with that. It's not about keeping people in, it's not about only managing their disease. It's about giving them hope to desire to try more and do better to whatever capacity they are at, right? Because they're all at different levels, but there are certain things that is that kind of brings them all together also. And it's a community, and they live there with each other, so you have to do that. You know, Marikita, I would love to share with you a recent experience that I had just before this one. I went to Texas, and I went to see my mother in her facility. And she's in a lovely place, and she's in what I will call like a boutique home, because it's a series of 4 cottages, and there's only 16 people who live in each cottage. So there are several caregivers with a smaller amount of less amount of people, right? So there's more care that way. And she has been talking to me about she's doing the chair exercises. She's participating in all of the physical activities. They do like a beanbag toss. They do hit the volleyball, which is like, a beach ball, and they have styrofoam bats and stuff like. I'm I love all of that for them, right? And my mother's gonna be 93, so you can imagine that I've been at this since I'm 29, that my mother's 93, and it's like she's enjoying exercising. So when I went there, I prepared ahead of time a song list of big band music, but not like Glenn Miller, which is like really fast and jazzy and really loud. None of that, but stuff I knew she would know that's a little more calming. I brought my exercise bands. I know her conditions, I know her contraindications. My mother exercised with me for the first time since I began this journey at 29. I'm now 67. All right. And she's in the chair and she's doing the exercises to the degree that she can. She is extremely fragile, but she was still trying and she was telling herself, reminding herself, all right, look up, because I wanted to challenge her cognitively. Right. So, what will happen with a senior, oftentimes, if they have some cognitive impairment, if you give them a directive, let's say to lift your legs up and down, they're going to look at the legs to see if they're doing it right. So I said to her, no, I want you to look in my eyes, keep that head up, keep doing the movement. And when I ask you a question, I want you to answer yes or no. Don't say, mm hmm. I want you to give me the words because all of that pieces together to help the cognition. And I watched my mother, who went from being rather out of it when I first arrived during the exercise, absolutely, because of the oxygen, because of everything that's going on hormonally, all of it, all of the chemicals in the body serving to help her be able to actually have a conversation about the exercises. And not only that, to ask me specific questions about why we were doing what we were doing and how we were doing it. And then I followed up these workouts with, I gave her geriatric massages because I'm a licensed massage therapist and that's what I specialize in. So I felt like it was very lovely communing time that I have never had with my own mother. I've had that with many clients and students, but not with my mother. And when I stepped out of the room for a few moments, I heard her. She was singing the songs from the song list. And I said, look at what exercise does for cognition. And then if you combine that with plant food, can you imagine what can occur? Far less issues to this degree that we're experiencing today, particularly with my generation and the older generation, like my mother's generation. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It was a lot of fun. She really enjoyed the work, and she told me the next day, I I didn't feel I didn't feel any pain. And I said, you shouldn't. When it's done right, everybody talks about no pain, no gain. That doesn't quite work that way, you know. So it was wonderful. It was a very lovely experience.
I love that story.
Yeah.
And I mean, wow. I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
You never know. I'm telling you. I'm like, I was thinking, wow, 29 to 67. My mother's on board.
That is too cute.
Yeah.
Well, well, I see Ellen is here
Who is
from
here?
Sugar Grove. Ellen from Sugar
Oh,
Grove.
hi, Ellen.
Let me sit closer to the mic. Oh,
Oh,
I'm gonna.
sure. Hello, my dear.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you for everyone's patience for me
Ellen's a
following.
sweetie.
I know
Ellen's
Ellen
a
is very
sweetie.
sweet. She works a lot with children, young women, not children.
Okay. So she's a little bit more on
Young
the
women
opposite end of the
teaching them
spectrum.
to sew and about kindness towards animals.
I'm losing
Right.
you a little bit, love.
She's
I
got the
lost.
young women. The young
Oh,
women.
okay. Yeah, that the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Although
Oh,
I do teach prenatal massage as well, and that was one thing I said to the group yesterday at the center, the senior center. I'm like, I don't think you have to worry about that. They were like, yeah, no, we don't need to worry about prenatal yoga. Excuse me.
well, I hear my echo. I feel like I'm echoing. Am I?
No, not on my end. I'm not receiving it as an echo.
All right. Well, so what would you say? Do you have a special story of like I mean your most I mean a story of your most memorable vegan moment?
I have so many. When I read that um, beforehand, when you gave me a little bit of a heads up, I was like, "That's a very interesting question." But when you've been at it as long as I have, I'm going to tell you there have been many incredible moments, and also being somebody who has rescued cats for since I'm 20, it's like it's profound the number of stories. But I'm going to tell you about something that stuck out more recently because it was so funny, but it was so heartwarming, and it involved different species and different ages and different sexes. All right. And it was just a little brief moment in time. So, where I go for my fitness walks is throughout my complex. It connects with other complexes, and it's called the Somerset community. But they all kind of connect, even though my part of my community has nothing to do with the other part. I like making that connection from one end to the other. So I walk the whole thing. And it's so funny. I meet all the maintenance guys on the other end, and they all know me much more, I think, on this end because they're just like, "Hey, how you doing?" All this stuff. It's a lot of fun. But there are a lot of iguanas in this particular area because it's Lauderdale lakes, lots of lakes, right? And little bridges and stuff, which I love. And so when I go on my walks, I see a lot of just stunning iguana. And we also have a lot of ducks, different breeds of ducks, and we have egret and heron. So and then once in a while, well, I shouldn't say once in a while, a lot of cats too. So I love, just running into the animals and talking with them and whatever I come upon. But there is this one curve of a road that people, though it's marked 10 miles an hour, they don't really do that.
Huh.
And the problem is it's right where one of the lakes is. So we have the ducks that cross the street. I'll see the families of ducks. It's just the sweetest thing. And a lot of the iguana, and they're going from one side of the lake to the other, but they do get killed because of that bend. So I'm approaching that bend and I'm doing my fitness walk. It's sunny out. It's just like a glorious day doing my thing. And I see this iguana, and it's really big, a really big iguana. And standing, just standing in the middle of the street. And remember, it's a curve. So that's typically right where they get killed. And so, but there were no cars, but then I could see from around the bend, I could see the
Huh.
cars, but I knew they couldn't see the iguana. So I go right out into the middle, and the iguana is still there. Normally they would scurry off. I'm like, this iguana is like, move, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I go over, and these cars are both coming at the same time from two opposite sides. And I go like this with both arms to both sides. And then I point down at the iguana and just wait a minute. And one of them like honked a little bit. I'm like, wait, like, I didn't yell. And then I just come on, go. And it goes a little bit. I'm like, go. And then it took off. And then we were all like, yes. And I started dancing, and the cars were honking, but they were honking from joy. And they were putting out the thumbs up from out the window, and we're waving goodbye. That's a great vegan moment. It brought together people, different generations in those cars, uh, quite frankly, different ethnic backgrounds to an animal. It was different, male, female. It was everybody all around that iguana rooting for it, and it made it, and it was stunning. It was one of those really bright lime green creatures with other colors. And I just was so happy we were all on the same page. But I was like chastising that one car, don't and they were just like, sorry, sorry, sorry. So that's a
That is
vegan
too
moment to
fun.
share. Yeah, is that cute? That's cute, right? But it's a vegan moment for sure.
It is for sure. I love it. Connection with all and
Compassion, all
so
of it.
right.
but
And
super
Ellen was
funny.
saying she didn't
So
feel it.
funny.
She said she
Oh,
came back to
no, really? That's a shame. Well,
face.
once in a while, you might come across a feisty iguana, but you leave it alone. But they're gorgeous.
Well,
They're
I want
so
to see
beautiful.
some.
You want to see some? You said, yeah, they're just stunning. Let me
Yeah,
tell
I
you,
want to see.
I had well, this is a funny story too, if you want to hear it, about another iguana. This took place in I was still living in Brooklyn, so that means it was sometime in the late '90s up into 2001. And I had a client that she had a pet iguana. That thing was so big, and she had one of those huge, I don't know, whatever it is, aquarium or whatever they're called, but like with the tree, the full tree and all this stuff. I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to relay to the audience because it's a little TMI. Well, I was there training her, and she had the iguana out, and his name was Iggy. And Iggy was perched on a bench, like on a stool. And Iggy starts doing a certain movement with his head and stuff that she starts laughing because that's kind of like a mating thing. And I said, what's up with that? Because I knew that meant something. And I said, I'm not walking around that. I said, because I'm going to tell you now, if it is what I think it is, the call of the wild type thing, I have my period right now and that thing knows it. And that's what happened. That iguana knew it. And I'm like, I'm supposed to train with you now with that thing onto me.
Oh my God.
But it was hilarious. I mean, I'm like, oh my. And every time I would go near, so I had to
Oh,
train her from across the room. I said, I can't cross in front of this thing. And you're insisting keeping him out. And that's okay by me, but I can't cross in front of him because I can't trust that. That's that moment where I don't know. Right. And so I just don't, I just didn't want to have any issues that could possibly take place that we wouldn't know what to do. And so I just trained her from a little bit the other side of the room.
that is too funny.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have some good stories. So why don't you tell us again, everyone that's watching, where they can catch up with you, Angela, if they're
Uh-uh.
interested. You
Thank
know.
you. I appreciate it. Well, I do want to, I would like to mention a few things if that's okay with you.
Yes.
So, thank you so much. So, first off, if anybody ever wants to connect with me, they can always reach me by way of the contact form on my website, which is boomerandbeyondwellness.com. I'll repeat it, boomerandbeyondwellness.com. So, there is obviously a contact form there. But I'm also I'm a video provider for Timmery Hagenberger's The Foodie Bar Way of Life. So it's a beautiful platform where she teaches you, as she's an RDN, a registered dietitian nutritionist, and her specialty is plant nutrition. And she's also hired by the state of Florida, by the way, to teach this as well. All right. And so she is somebody that if you really want to learn about how to cook and all of this and prepare food and you want to do it from the perspective of your health, she is just bar none the best at it regarding nutrition, and there's much that her platform offers people. And she does have a 7-day free trial, and you can always avail yourself to the entire platform to see what goes on there. And also I am a live Zoom provider of strength training class once a month to feel fabulous over 40, another really great whole food plant-based type of a platform. That these platforms help people transition from the sad approach, right, the standard American diet, uh, to being whole food plant based, and so there as well. And then on site, well, I am now in these particular facilities in Lauderdale Lakes, which is very near Fort Lauderdale, so in the Fort Lauderdale area. If you have loved ones who are dealing with delicate issues, these are the facilities that I work at, and I highly recommend that you check these facilities out for yourselves, your loved ones. I'm teaching chair yoga for seniors at the Alzheimer's Care Center. So if you are dealing with that within your family, this is a place that provides services from 7 in the morning till 6 p.m. at night. So it's really quite comprehensive. There's also run by the um, Catholic Health Services Organization, a facility called St. Joseph's Residence. This is for people who have a little bit more they're a little bit more functional. So there I teach a blend of chair exercise and chair yoga for seniors. And then their brother facility, I'm waiting for my start date. I call it the brother facility because they literally are within the same complex, all run by Catholic Health Services. And that one's St. John's, and that's going to also be for people with a higher degree of cognitive impairment. And then the Meridian at Waterways in Fort Lauderdale, that's going to be the upcoming, starting June 4th, the strength training class for revolutionary strength. For revolutionary fitness for the seniors, and then of course there's my YouTube channel where I have all of this stuff for free. Everything's a free class. The classes are full classes. I also have the chair classes, ditto yoga and chair yoga. And then there's also the Have It Your Way workout series in my YouTube channel, which is where I do a deep dive into simply one exercise at a time. Because Marikita, people with chronic health conditions know what they can and cannot do. And in particular, what they can't do. So I want to sort of broaden their horizons on that word can, and give them opportunities to create their own workout. It's really a DIY approach, and they're creating their own exercise protocol. So that's the areas, and of course there's the social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and also Instagram.
All right. Well, everyone needs to check out Angela, and I want to
Thank
make
you.
sure that you all remember. Yes.
I
Because
appreciate
there's
that. Thank you so much.
so many videos that she's made. And also remember to visit us. And, Mhm. Sure.
I can't. I can't hear
Also,
you.
please support this program and by
Yes,
making a
please.
one-time donation. I wonder why not. Can anybody else?
It's.
Okay.
I can hear you. It's
I'm
just.
sitting right by the mic. Anyway,
I can hear you. It's just a little bit broken up.
well, we'd love to see tea.
Okay. All right. So now, what I'm going to have to do is change I don't know if I'm allowed to do this. Is this StreamYard? Is this StreamYard?
Yes.
Because I can't be on microphone with T. I have to go in another room, and this is, plugged into the back of the computer. So I'm going to say thank you now and goodbye, but I'm going to return with T, and we'll both wave goodbye. All right?
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Thank you. Y'all, thank you for all the patience with the tech issues today. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm talking right into the mic. Angela is the best, and I love tea. Let's see here. Definitely check out her YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe and like, please, y'all. Um, let's see. I'm gonna try to sit up for a minute. I had a bad internet connection this morning, so I came to my brother's house, and then all sorts of work going on over here. Here we go.
So I can't hear you now, Nikita, but I'm yelling into my little microphone. Let's see.
Oh, T. He's a lazy boy. I love you, T.
Isn't it beautiful eyes, right? Thank you
Yes.
so much, buddy. I so appreciate you. Love you, Marikita.
Love you.
Thank
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Oh, there's Louis barking.
Thank you, love. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.